my internet connection is, but we're gonna wing it anyway. We're just hanging out. I'm gonna be cleaning up this harness a little bit, getting it ready to start making the standalone setup, and that's it. Just hanging out, answering your questions. So if any of you guys pop on, you want to say hi, want to ask a question, so be it. I'm just gonna work and talk, and who knows? See how this goes. First time going live, so let's check it out. So I got my buddy Alan here from the Car Grumps.
Hey.
He's running the camera for me, and he's just going to be reading questions off and answering everything and helping me answer the questions. But
And Rodney said hello, everyone. So.
All right, we already got a hello. That works. Nice. So I'm starting off. A lot of guys have been asking about what I'm using for standalone. I am going to start off with an Econoline harness. And the reason I want to start off with an Econoline harness is because the engine harness and the Thickum harness are all one piece. On the Super Duty, you have the Thickum harness and you have the engine harness completely separate. So this is kind of nice because it has, normally your Thickum would be mounted right up in here. This one, here's your Thickum plugs. You have all this lead that you can pretty much put the Thickum wherever you want. If you want to put a hole through the firewall, you can do that. So first things first is stripping off all this old loom. And
Sam was asking D466 build.
The DT466 build is actually outside. I'm gonna carry you out there real quick.
Cool.
Show you where we're at. Got the orange truck. So tucked over there still exists. Is this a 7.3? No, this is a 6 liter. So the DT466 build is still going on. We had part of the issue was the truck doesn't really fit in the garage, so every time it came up that I was kind of able to work on it time-wise, it just didn't fit in because it was the winter, so I have to hang halfway out of my garage in order for me to work on it.
Yep.
Back when I had my old shop, I had all the room in the world, but here I don't.
Rodney wants to know, is that a 7.3?
The orange truck is a 6 liter. I'm not sure if that's the one you're asking about.
What's the DT?
The DT is a DT466 is like a big truck engine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to clean this Econoline harness up a little bit. I'm going to reroute things a little differently. So all this old loom is all junk. I'm going to put really nice braided loom on here that kind of slips over everything. Going to change any of the pigtails that need work. Clean it all up and try to make it as nice as possible. So when you look at this, it looks like the harness belongs the way it is. And sometimes that's easy, sometimes it's a little tricky. There's a lot of fat in here that you can trim out. And we're going to relocate the glow plug module. Just got to cut all this old tape off. It is nasty. I mean, sometimes these things have been sitting in these trucks. God knows what's been done to them. Pigtails been spliced on. Hack job repairs. So you just got to go through. I mean, there's really not a good solution unless you get like that Warren standalone harness. But to me, that's a lot of money. Nothing against it, but that's a lot of money for a harness that you still don't get glow plugs. You still don't get AC. You're going to run an extra little piece if you want to do VGT. It's kind of not ideal for a street truck or a hot rod or anything like this. So we're going to make our own. And I might even, if I get enough demand for it, I might even start selling a piece that allows you to use a factory harness on the engine side and then plug into your PCM and just has fuses and relays, and you can just hook it up to ignition on any classic truck or anything like that. Kind of like some of the LS standalone swap type of stuff. So I'm going to get to work. I'm going to keep cutting away at this tape. If you guys have any questions, feel free. Like I said, this is my first time doing a live, so not really used to it. Used to doing my kind of start the camera, stop the camera, kind of talk a little bit, work and edit everything, and this is a little out of my element, but See how it goes.
So Rodney says, I have a 6.0 in my 2004 F-250 that lost a lifter, and she would eat the low pressure oil pump and front cover to fix. That's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's Make sure you tear that thing apart pretty good because there's going to be debris everywhere. Sometimes at that point, depending on how good you are, you might be better off just replacing the thing. Depending on how deep you want to get into it, sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze on those things. So we're still waiting on coilovers for the back. That's kind of why we took a little break from. We were going to finish up the rear suspension and get that done, but the coilovers aren't here yet. So we can't really do anything else with that until those show up.
Ford says, what's up, nice project, bro? And Real Toy Train says, I have a couple of soft wash trucks that need work. Big laughter. And Ford says he can't wait to see this get done.
Yeah. Yeah, Real Toy Trains. I don't know. I don't know about the soft wash trucks. Maybe we can talk about that. But I'm super excited about this F100. It's kind of a unique build. I mean, there's been other people out there that have 6-liter swapped them, but I think between the independent rear suspension and relocating the turbo up here and doing a couple other cool things, I think that this is going to be kind of a unique build, and I'm hoping it's a lot of fun. I mean, gotta keep plugging away, doing my best to make it as nice as possible.
And also, if anybody's signed up for this and checking it out right now, just give a quick thumbs up that you're viewing, and there should be a thumb there where you can like it or give it some hearts and stuff. So that would really does help for the video. Real Toy says, I love watching the progress on the F100.
Yeah, this is I mean, as you can tell, that person that asked about the DT 466 truck, that project didn't get abandoned, but you know, I kind of lost steam on that one a little bit because of some unforeseen circumstances. But the orange truck, it was awesome to get that thing pretty much completed. I mean, they say a project is never complete until you sell it, but you know, that one is, I drive that almost every single day on the street, and that's an awesome one. This one, I'm hoping to see this thing right through to the end, get this thing going good, and I'm actually building this truck for a friend of mine, and I know that he is going to thoroughly enjoy this thing when it's done, so I'm excited to see it. It's going to be a while. Hoping to get this thing at least to the point, I'm going to be going to the Atlantic City Truck Show in June, and I'm going to be bringing the orange truck there. I'll be in the Blessed Performance booth. I'm hoping to get this thing at least to the point where it rolls, and yeah, obviously, as you can tell, it's not going to be anywhere close to complete, but if we can at least get it so it rolls, it'd be cool to roll this thing off into the booth and kind of have you guys be able to check it out, any of you guys that attended that. I know it's a big one. If you're on the East Coast, somewhere in the Northeast, that's a very big show, and Blessed Performance is a huge booth. They got a dyno. It's gonna be a good one, so I'm excited for that. Either way, even if this one's just a bucket of bolts, it should be pretty cool to get it over there. This thing is a mess. Everything is full of oil. So if you're doing something like this and stripping a harness, before you start cutting this open, you should either have a good diagram so you can look at wire colors, match things up, because this stuff can get away from you pretty quick. Or what you can do is lay it out onto the engine how it normally would have been, and then label everything with tape. And then you can kind of start to figure out where everything went back. But the problem with that, I found with the tape, is once you start messing around with this, the tape is not going to stick to these wires very good. I mean, this stuff is so oily and greasy that you're going to put tape on these, and then by the time you get back to it, the tape is just going to be gone. It's going to be off of it. So you're going to be like, oh, where does this plug go to? And that's when you start to get in trouble. So there's tons of great resources out there for wire diagrams. If not, I'm sure you can find someone that works for Ford that can print out an engine harness diagram for you. They're pretty accessible. You really shouldn't get into something this deep without it. And yeah, I mean, wiring is simple but complicated. I know that's like very contradictory, but if you just take the steps and just look at one thing at a time and try to analyze how it's supposed to work, why they did it that way, and focus on one circuit, it gets pretty easy. The issue people have is they see all these wires at once and they go, oh, holy crap, that's too much. Well, focus on one thing. Engine oil temperature, 2 wires. How's that routed? You know, just one thing at a time. And that's pretty much it. So. You got any viewers on here, Alan?
Yeah, 10.
10?
We were going 10, 10 and 15 and 20, and then I think people's connections drop. So
My connection?
no, them, not us. We're streaming great.
Nice. I wasn't sure how this was gonna go because I have terrible service out here and terrible Wi-Fi. So by the time it gets all the way out to the garage here, sometimes it's questionable if it's gonna even work at all.
So Rodney asked, have you ever had issues with the cam sensor wires shorting to the shield causing intermittent no start?
I haven't had that particular problem, but I have had a bunch of issues with the wires getting brittle and breaking and having intermittent no starts. The most common issue I have seen with a 6-liter and a cam sensor is rust building up underneath the surface of the cam sensor. So it'll actually start to get a rust bubble, and it'll push the cam sensor away from the block, and then it opens up that air gap between the cam sensor and the reluctor wheel. So if it's from the rust belt at all, and I have a truck that has any kind of cam sensor issue, the first thing I do is take the cam sensor out and I look at the block, and sometimes you even have to chip the rust off. You'll see it's just like a ball of rust.
Wow.
If it gets really bad, the easiest way to get to it is to pull a power steering pump, which is a pain in the butt, but it gives you a lot more room to get in there and clean everything up. And then I usually stick a wire brush up through the bore where the cam sensor goes. That way the new one can pop in nice and easy. So that's most of the time, that's what I see. A lot of times cam sensor and crank sensor issues are misdiagnosed as bad sensors or bad wiring, when in reality it's something simple like that, like rust buildup, or sometimes even if you get an extended crank, you can get weird crank sensor codes. There's just all sorts of strange things. Battery voltage issues can cause it. So
He says he's in South Carolina, so the heat is his harness killer.
well, yeah, all right. So it's possible you have some brittle, cracked harnesses that are causing some things. Yeah, South Carolina, you're probably not getting a whole lot of rot on the truck unless it originally came from the north. But up here in Massachusetts, we deal with it every single day. It's a lot of people from the south would scrap the trucks that we think are gems. So it's one of those things where we deal with it, we get used to it, and when we occasionally get that southern truck up here to fix and it's clean, it's like a treat.
So doing what you're doing right now, how long will it take to get all that done?
So to strip this harness down to where I want it to be, realistically, a couple hours. I mean, we're gonna strip it down. I'm gonna figure out exactly what I'm keeping, where everything's gonna get routed. Some of this stuff, this is for the air conditioning. This is the crank sensor. So crank sensor, I might reroute down, so I'm not running it down this way. I'm not quite sure yet, but basically I want to get all the loom off, figure out where everything is supposed to go, and then rearrange it based on how I want it to look so it looks clean. You know, like some guys in like the import world, I guess you call it like a wire tuck, where they kind of make it so the wires are almost invisible. Not completely possible on this, but I can definitely clean this up a lot where you know, instead of the wiring coming up and over the top like this, maybe I'll have the wiring down in the valley on the inside of the intake, and then I'll have the injector harnesses come up this way. So you won't see any of this main engine harness sitting on top of the engine. It'll just kind of all be tucked under nice and neat. The idea for this thing is just to make it look clean. I mean, that's really, I could have just plopped this Econoline harness on and just mounted the Fickum up over here and hooked it up and called it a day, but to me that's just not it just doesn't look pretty.
Rodney says, I have a 1978 F-250 Super Cab LWB with no rust, 135,000 miles.
Yeah, that'd be valuable up here. Those trucks go for a lot of money up here.
Chunk of gold.
Yeah. No rust. Yeah. Yeah. Anything up here that has no rust came from down there. So, I mean, even stuff that's garage kept, if you drive it in the winter at all, because we don't only use salt on the road, we use calcium chloride, or I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like a liquid ice melt. And that stuff just gets up in frames, inside rocker panels, inside doors, and it's just nasty.
It finds every hole and more.
Yeah, yep.
Nathan's BMW Workshop says, what's up, man? Long time no talk.
What's going on, Nathan? How are you, man? So Nathan's BMW Workshop is actually the whole reason I got into YouTube. And he has a channel that he just does mostly, I mean, it's BMWs. And back when I had Nathan's Garage, I was getting calls constantly. People were like, hey, can you tell me over the phone how to fix the ignition switch on my BMW 325? I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you how to fix your car over the phone. What do you mean? And it was constant calls. So finally I was like, what? How did you get this number? And they said, yeah, you're Nathan from YouTube, right? And I'm like, nope. So I reached out to Nathan from YouTube, and I was like, hey, man, your people keep calling my shop. I don't know if you want to say anything. And we actually ended up getting into a long, about like an hour-long conversation about it. And he kind of convinced me to get into it. And I think it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I had a conversation with him a while ago and said that, but I appreciate that conversation because that got me kickstarted in this. And I really enjoy it. I get to do my passion. I get to share it with you guys. And it's a lot of fun. So that's how I got my start. So, thanks. Yep. So, yeah, it's been a while. It's 2018 is when I started YouTube. And I had no thought that I would get to the 30,000 subscribers that I have now. I mean, everybody hopes that, but it's, that's a big deal, especially when you start grinding on YouTube. I don't know how many of you guys have channels, but you start uploading videos, and first your friends and your family, they subscribe, and you're like, nice, I have 50 subscribers. And then the next 950 roll in so slow.
Yeah. He says you should have started fixing BMWs that day too.
No way. I still won't fix BMWs. Nope. I do not like European cars. But I think it's one of those things that when you get used to them, they're not bad. But some people that work on European cars may look at this stuff and say, I would never work on one of those Ford diesels. So, I don't know. I guess it's kind of whatever you're into. Funny. Just got to keep looking for the seam. When you're cutting these off, you just want to be careful with the razor to not go through the loom and cut into the wiring, because you will create problems that you didn't need to have. So just kind of cutting the tape away a little at a time.
I was going to ask you that too. I was going to be like, is it like having surgery and you're trying to miss the, you know what I mean?
Kind of. But what I do is I cut the tape. So I don't know how well you can see this, but the seam is here, and I make the cut to the side of the seam, so I actually hit the loom. So then I can peel it open like that.
Nice, yep.
So then the loom is kind of like that one last layer between the razor blade and the actual wiring. So you just gotta go slow. You don't want to hack right into the seam, because you can make slices in the wiring that you don't really see, and then the next thing you know, when you get this all back together, you're chasing issues that you created. So
Rodney says, I don't blame you for not working on European cars.
I don't think they're terrible. I mean, I did do some work on them when I had my shop. It's just different. It's just the way they lay things out, the way that the workshop manuals and the wire diagrams are. It's just different, and it's one of those things that, like I said, if that's what you're used to, it's not that bad. But if you are used to the way that American cars are, or even Japanese cars, I think Japanese cars are the easiest to work on personally. It's really not terrible, but I mean, the biggest thing that I noticed about European cars is the need for specialty tools. Most European cars I worked on, I mean, even triple squares and Torx bits and all that stuff, they all use that stuff. They don't use regular fasteners. And I'm sure they look at us with our hex bolts and say, peasant fasteners. But it's just one of those things that I just never really enjoyed working on, so I just stayed away from them as much as I possibly could.
So Nathan just said, take care, everybody. He stopped in just for a quick chat. So he's out. Justin says, I'm not sure if you have already seen it, but Warren Diesel makes a standalone harness. He used one for a 1970 F-250 6.0 swap.
Yeah, so earlier in the stream, I talked about that a little bit, and the Warren harness is good, but it's just not ideal for what I want to do. And quite frankly, it's a lot of money for a stripped down harness. I mean, you can make pretty much all that yourself. The only side that's a little bit tricky is the truck side, because you need a body harness. But I actually have a whole box of OEM truck side connectors. So the one that actually goes to the PCM and then goes into the truck, I have a whole box of brand new connectors for that. So I'm going to start making kind of my own little jumper and relay harnesses for that. So yeah, you can use the Warren one if you're the type of guy that just wants to do the fab work and doesn't want to have to worry about electrical. By all means, you can just buy the Warren harness, plug it in. You have to figure out glow plugs. I think there's some issues with the VGT setup on there, but yeah, I mean there's nothing wrong with that. That, just not my cup of tea. This is more what I want to do, doing it this way. So. What do you think, Alan? How long do you think we should stream for? What do we got?
4 days.
4 days? I don't know if I can do that.
Oh, 2 hours. No, I don't know. We'll get through some harness here, and then we'll get some show off of, you know what I mean, kind of what it looks like when you're done, and then.
Oh, I think I mean, this is going to be a while.
Yeah.
This is going to be, so I might take a break from this for a little bit here, because this is one of those things that I might save this for the video where I actually build the standalone part, and I'll use some of the footage from this on that. But
Justin says, very true. I admire your skill. Thank you for the content.
so, not sure how many of you guys have seen the video. I'm going to jump off of this part real quick. But in the back of this, we ended up cutting out the airbags and the 4-link and the 9-inch, and we got this S550. It's like 2015 to 2023 Mustang rear suspension in here. These things are super strong and they handle phenomenal. And the other part too is they have the same lug pattern as the Crown Vic front end up front. So it allowed us to use the same wheels front and rear. And there's great gear ratio options. I mean, there's great gear ratio options for a 9-inch too, but it's just one of those cool things. It's different. There's a lot of guys starting to do these swaps on F100s, but I've never seen a 6.0 swapped F100 with independent rear suspension. So
Ken says, my question is, will you ever be doing the drift braking system you started a while ago, and is it on the truck now?
It is on the truck. I don't know that I'll ever do a video about it. I mean, maybe I'll do a video showing it function and everything. But as far as the install goes, I just didn't get the content. I just kind of got ahead of myself and got the thing done. I really do want to get the truck out on the track sooner or later. I kind of built that truck for that and never really got it out on the track. I've just been driving it. It's not exactly the easiest for me. It's also why, if you can tell, in 2023, I didn't really have a lot of content uploaded. Kind of slowed down with things a little bit, but this year I got my buddy Alan here helping me out recording, and we've been pretty consistent about getting stuff. So the next big thing is hitting the shows, getting the track days, and getting it out there. So maybe once I get one of those videos where I do a track day, I can talk about that a little bit, and we can go from there. So anyway, yeah, like I said, we're just waiting on coilovers for this. We're going to make some brackets to mount the coilovers up here, and they're going to go to the factory lower shock mount on this. A couple of nice setups for it. We're going to be going with the Alden American stuff. It's pretty nice, and they also make a setup for the Crown Vic front end, because right now it has the airbags just like the back did, and we're getting away with all that. So just excited for that. I think this is going to be a fun truck. And then after this is done, if we have the time, we'll do some stuff on the honors truck suspension wise too, and kind of get that a little better. One step at a time though. Got to finish something before we start another project. Can't be one of those halfway through a single project like we were in the past, you know?
Will be like the video where you push the truck out as you moved back to the other one. Exactly. Too funny.
Yep. So I think I'm gonna end this live here, guys. I mean, I don't know. This was fun. Let me know if you guys want to see me do this again. Just as I'm kind of building this stuff, just pop on the live, answer some questions. If that's something you're interested in, give me a shout, and we'll just kind of keep plugging away. But thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate you guys tuning in.
Have a good one.
See ya.